Got it live up there now. Look at that. How about that, bub? Look at it. There we go. Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live.
It's not live yet. Why are you doing that?
Oh, okay. Hold on.
I'll tell you when we're
Bub
live.
says he'll tell me when we're live.
Jesus.
You just got to tell me when.
Okay, now go.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live.
7 minutes late.
7 minutes late. Right here from inside the broadcast studio at Bubba's Exotic Motorsports, the #1 rated internationally syndicated motorsports podcast in the world, Bub.
What can Facebook dick up today?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry we're late. We apologize. We were having technical difficulties. We were still on the air. The people that were listening on Spreaker and Stitcher and Podbean and iTunes and all of that, they could hear us, but you could not see the audio. But we're live with you, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Bub. How are we this morning, man?
Man, I'm doing just freaking fantastic, dude.
It's been some audio difficulties.
I'm ready to leave. I'm going to the beach.
I bet you are, man.
No, I'm going to. That's what I'm doing.
I want to say good morning to Jess over at Comcast this morning. She's out there watching us live.
Well, she's probably watching now, not the past 7 minutes.
So good morning, Jess. Thank you out there. Bub, a couple good things I wanted to touch on real quick. First of all, we want to express our deepest sympathies to our uplink over Capristo Exhaust. Talk a little bit about that, man.
So, we've had a lot of fun with that, man. It's, that was a great partnership that was joined here recently between BEM and Capristo Exhaust. Yeah. Not only now, known for the best in terms of exhaust systems in the automotive industry, everything from quality to fitment to customer service to the end result to the performance gains, all the way across the board. But now also taking over the entire carbon fiber market as well, with direct fit components that literally match to the T, 100% factory quality carbon.
Yep, right on, man. Yeah, right on. And we, sadly, Bub, our uplink over there, Jordan, had some rather sad news, and we want to send our condolences to him. Bub, let's talk a little bit about that for a moment, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's, I guess, what was it, his cousin?
Yeah.
Was just killed in a head-on accident. So, thoughts out to him. And, it sucks that that's what you have to deal with in life, but that's sometimes what you get.
It just sucks, man. And, by the way, ironically, it was in Sterling, Virginia, Bub.
Yeah.
How about that, man?
Yep.
Up-and-coming area, man. That area's been on the verge of doing some stuff lately, but you've got so many different types of people driving in the Northern Virginia area, man. It doesn't surprise me at all, man.
Yeah.
That comes as no surprise. By the way, Bub, just want to let you know I hadn't had a chance to really talk with you or meet with you on that, but Capristo just launched the new, you'll understand this, the GTC4 Lusso V8 turbo exhaust. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What is that, Lusso?
So that would be
GTC4.
Ferrari related. Yeah,
Okay.
GTC4 is going to be Ferrari related.
Okay.
And that's probably guaranteed another one of their high-end components and exhaust system for that ride.
Yep.
If you guys haven't seen this stuff, man, the pure quality of it, just go straight to our website, bubbasexoticmotorsports.com. If you guys are following our Facebook page, which you're on it now, obviously, if you're seeing us live, you will see all of those links in the products. Every time one is uploaded, it immediately gets pushed all the way across social media. So even if you don't have the car and you just want to check out that pure quality and style and sound and performance and see the possible gains and potential you can get, just check it out. You'll see all the links out there.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it, Bub?
Yeah.
And also, Bub, they just released the Mercedes-Benz AMG GT. The GT's a really hot-looking car, man. It's
Yeah,
a
real
two-seater, $500,000 car, isn't it?
Yeah,
We have a ton of them around here.
they start at like 140 and up from there.
Yep, we have a ton of them around here, don't we?
Yeah, there's actually a lot, man. It's a pretty solid luxury / sports car.
They just released the rear carbon diffuser on that. $4,800 on that, Bub.
Yeah, that's a really good
How
setup.
about that? Next weekend, I think, Bub, we're down at Supercar Saturday. Is that correct? In
Yeah,
Broward?
so this coming Saturday is going to be the Supercar Saturdays, and that's of Supercar Saturdays
with Floyd, yeah.
with Floyd Ragg at Lamborghini in Broward, and just an amazing time, man. A lot of great people go out there, a lot of high-end rides.
Yeah.
Nothing in sort of one reason to go, just an all-out full time of fun from 10 to 1 in the morning. That's at Lamborghini Broward. So a great time to come on out and hang out, check out some insane rides, see some of the new Lamborghinis, see a lot of like the new, for example, the new Range Rovers were released last month, so a lot of crazy things.
Oh, were they? What's going on with that? I didn't know the new Range Rover.
Yeah, the
was
new
out.
two-door that you just saw. That was at the dealership.
Oh, that's correct. You're right. It is. New fit and feel, Bub, for Bubba's Exotic Motorsports. We are going to step away from our Monday and Friday show, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't be saddened by that. We are going to be doing something a little bit different. We are working with a production house that is going to, we may be just doing kind of tech videos and fun stuff like that. We're going to take a break from the Monday and Friday 11 to 11:30 shows and do something a little more technical and a little more sporadic, Bob.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a little bit of fun.
Yeah, real good.
What do you think? Are you excited about stepping away from that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. It's I've got a lot of stuff I got to get done, and I just need to keep grinding out on some of these rides.
Exactly. We'll continue to build the Bubba's Exotic Motorsports show. Good morning to Jack out there in Ontario, Canada. I'm going to try to follow up with everybody. Bub's got my phone over on the Mevo, so I'm going to have to follow everybody on this side right here. I will need to bring you up to speed, Bub. I did speak to the BEM dirt track driver, Mr. Mark Hoffman, Bub. He is on the road this week. But he did send in his report from on the road. Bub, we're going to talk today about Fun in the Sun rides. And I want to get into that because it doesn't matter whether you just live in South Florida, Bub, where you can ride in the sun all of the time. And there are special considerations that have to be taken into effect if you want to build a nice Fun in the Sun ride.
Yeah.
Or it does if you're up in the Northeast where you only get a few months of sun. Here, it's very beachy. It's a very different feel to it. It's skateboard-esque. It's surfer life. They call it salt life, correct?
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about what are Fun in the Sun rides, Bub. What is the definition? What is the Bubba style definition of Fun in the Sun?
That could be a topic that is fully personal opinion, and I think, from a Fun in the Sun standpoint, you could start with you're in South Florida. Of course, most people are going to immediately default to boats, right? Well,
Okay.
if you're not a water person, maybe maybe you're not a boater. Maybe that's not your Fun in the Sun ride. Maybe
Sure.
you're going to be one of those guys that likes to be in maybe in a T-top style car or a sunroof style car. Maybe you want just a traditional old convertible. You want to just be able to go out, put the top down, cruise, take that beating of the sun from you a little bit, and then
Sure.
once you get too hot, put the top back up. But then you start getting into more of like the modded, the fun stuff, and have a little bit more of that full cruising straight in the sun, burning, taking it no matter what, which is what leads you into things like the Polaris slingshots,
How
the
about that?
T-Rexes, like
okay.
the three-wheeled, the open cab rides, the stuff that's super, super lightweight and fun. So you're not only going out and having that fun in the sun, but you're also having like that sporty style fun cruiser as well. So it's not just, a drop top, Chrysler Sebring, for example. You're actually going out and you're having full open cab, getting beat by the sun, taking in the rays, and just having a great time in a fun ride.
Having a good time with it, Bub. Now, when you're talking about, Bub, the slingshots and the T-Rexes, what exactly are those? And good morning to Joe Kramer out there in Vienna, Virginia, Bub. I got a story I'll share with you, too, about sunny Florida here in just a second. And it's going to be a shout-out to a very old friend of ours as well.
So these things like the Polarises, the slingshots, the T-Rexes, those are, a lot of people have seen them take off over the past few years, really since like the late 2000s, like 2009, 10, that era right there going upwards till now. They're like sporty little three-wheel design vehicles, two in the front, one in the rear, typically powered by some sort of four-cylinder. Some were built with, automotive like car manufacturer engines in them, and also going into some were motorcycle powered engines. So you had a little bit more of that rev band out of them and a lot of fun. That's typically the design of these things. And there are many different brands of them out there. Of course, there are brands that are straight no name brands that you could find these things on eBay and have them shipped in a freight, and you can assemble the fenders on them yourself if you want. For probably a quarter of the price, but I don't know how much I'd be wanting to cruise one of those things. It'd be going down the road sideways. But they're super fun to get out there because you do have that little sporty design to them. It is a great cruise when you're down, for example, here a couple miles to the east of us is the waterfront. So you can just get right on Ocean Boulevard and just cruise all the way down with no separation between you and the sand, and it's just a lot of fun riding like that.
Jack says the T-Rex, LOL. Indeed, man. Indeed. We were talking a little bit about the T-Rex yesterday, Bub.
Yeah.
How about that, man? So, Bub, when we talk about making Fun in the Sun vehicles, man, so what are some of the things that you consider in their design intent, man?
I guess one of the things you've got to make sure, especially here, is that things are waterproof, right?
Okay,
and that they last.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest things down here because the salt in the air,
Yes.
the moisture, all of that is going to take into effect how long this thing lasts and if it even lasts.
That's correct.
Quality of what you're working with is key. Whether it's your materials or your mounting hardware, your fasteners, things like that. All of that comes into consideration when you're thinking about a Fun in the Sun ride in this area.
And Bub, how about the fact that you have to be able to transition between the beach environment and the street environment? There's a lot that you have to take into account when it comes to suspension or tires, for example. You're not a guy who likes loud tires on a lifted vehicle or a Jeep or anything like that. That's not your style.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some areas down here actually that you can drive. Daytona, you can get a car out on the beach up there. Here in Palm Beach, you can't get a car on the beach here, but there are certain spots just south of us that you can get on the beach as well. So you do want, you're not really going to have the best luck on a low pro set of street tires getting out on sand. But you could have a nice combo of an on-road, off-road tire that is clean looking, ride super smooth, super quiet, and you can still get out there and have some fun on it.
And still have some fun on it. That's correct.
Yeah.
Bub, when it comes to say,
put that back up.
Put this back up. All right.
You need to mute the video.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Hold on. Our technical difficulties are happening right now. You guys are watching it live.
Okay, good. Yep, I'm trying to interact with everybody out
there.
there.
All right, now mute that video.
Okay, Bub, let's see how we do that.
There's a mute at the bottom.
Yeah, I may have to go back there, Bub.
Here we go.
All right, hold on 1 second.
Well, and here goes the show again.
No, I'm just simply. So, Bub, anyways, it's funny too. You pay Comcast all this money, and look at the speed of this thing, man. And you're plugged directly into it. Doesn't make sense, does it, man?
Nah.
I don't understand why it's so slow, though, Bub.
Terrible.
It's just terrible, man, isn't it? So, Bub, we don't want the loud noise, but we do want the ability for the sun to get in. Now, of all of the vehicles you build, let's talk about Blazers. Let's talk about Jeeps. Let's talk about Scouts. Let's talk about everything that's out there. Slingshots, T-Rexes, all of it included. What is the true definition of a beach cruiser for Bubba?
Oh, see, now that's a difficult one there because that I've built a lot of beach cruisers in terms of I do what you would start off as either like an SUV style truck or some sort of Jeep platform. So, and what I mean by that is things that are like two-seater. You can take the tops off of these things, but you have a roll bar in them, so it gives you that really cool look. That to me is more of my style cruiser, where you can, think for example like mid-70s Blazers, the K5s. You can take the tops off of them, the one-piece hard tops. You can take them off.
The old Broncos.
The old Scouts, the International Scouts. Those things are, to me, those are the fun beach cruisers. I naturally lean towards the Chevrolet side of it.
Of course you do.
Because of the platform, the drivetrain, what you're getting out of it. So if you're talking in terms of having a reliable, like I started off mentioning, to build a beach cruiser, you want a reliable one, something that's easy to play with, easy to maintain. If something does go wrong, I would lean towards, that Chevrolet platform for the K5 based stuff. Take the top off, do a beautiful roll bar in, and something that looks super aggressive, really sporty. You could throw a board in the back of that thing and just make it look cool. Even if you don't surf, it just looks really cool having a board just kind of thrown in over the edge. So you can set up this whole theme and this whole style, but that's my personal choice when it would be like a beach cruiser, top off, cruising, chilling in 2 bucket seats in the front, having a great audio system, maybe a cooler mounted in the back, things like that.
Funny you mentioned audio system. I was just going to question. Excuse me, Bob. I was just going to question you about audio systems because I know you like to have kind of what you do in your designs is kind of what you do in your designs are things like marrying up the marine side and the automotive side. Excuse me, Bob. So, for example, on boats, we have what we call platforms that have our towers. We call them towers down here, ladies and gentlemen. And they are almost, think about, it would look in your mind, envision in your mind a roll cage in a boat. Is that a good visual, Bub?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so the tower is like a roll cage in the boat, and in that roll cage, you can hook your ski rope, which comes down and pulls the skier. There are speakers mounted up there, and it gives you a whole plethora of things that you can work with. And Bub often takes the roll cage and brings in that aquatic look or that boat look and mounts his speakers on the down tube of the roll cage, so it almost brings together almost like a boat on the land as part of the design.
Well, again, it's when you're building these things, you've got to build into functionality. It's if you go and you're trying to build a beach cruiser, if you go and you buy things like maybe a set of speakers at Walmart or something cheap. A lot of people think that, it's going to be out in the moisture, it's going to be something that gets abused. Just spend a little bit of money. They think about it from that mindset. To me, I don't think about it from that mindset. I think about it from a reliability and function point where to do marine grade, that's good, and to do it that lasts is going to be money, right? Because you're paying for different materials, you're paying for things that are proven. So whenever I do like these beach cruiser designs, I always typically lean towards JL Audio. We find something from them like their speaker pods. They have, full fiberglass and sealed speaker pods that have full marine grade audio systems, whether it be the connectors to the speakers to the amps to heck, even the radio, the main units themselves. All of them can be all waterproof. Same thing when it comes down to like your gauges in your vehicle, things like that, your switches, all that stuff has to be sealed in order for it to be a good, functional, long lasting marine style setup. And you can match all that to a great quality system. You can literally build with these JL speaker pods, man. Let me tell you, two of those things, they come in, 6.5, 6 3/4, whatever it is, the size wise you want to get. You can run a set of those things, and two of those mounted in a set of their roll bar speaker pods hooked up to like a 400, 500 watt amp. It literally thumps. I mean, when designed and matched properly, it thumps solid.
And that's the beauty of it, Bub. You literally can sit on the beach with the waves crashing in, whatever your favorite beverage is, have it out there with you, and listen to great tunes. A lot of people listen to reggae here, Jimmy Buffett here, very Caribbean-styled music here. I mean, I'm not saying that the traditional music's not also appreciated and enjoyed. It is. But certainly there's a very cultish style, a lifestyle that's affiliated with it as well.
Yeah.
And to have that sound, I mean, to have the way you tune your stereos, and we learned last week that we now have self-tuning stereos.
Yeah, self-tuning amps, yeah.
That's it, self-tuning amps, based on the gauge of wire you use, the variables,
the resistance in the speakers. I mean, everything. It's crazy, man. The way that technology is going in terms of audio systems has gotten incredible, man. It's there's a time where we've talked about it many times before. People would just go and buy this amp or this sub or this wire, and they wouldn't take into any consideration the way that any of those components are going to work together. They just simply connected the dots and hoped for a good end result.
That's correct, yeah.
And that's not audio systems, man. If you're a true audio guy, you know that you have to match that stuff to the T. Your speakers, they're going to play in a certain ohm. They're going to create certain resistance loads that are going to require different speaker wire size, the gauge of the wire. And all of that comes into effect, man. Just the length of your wire from, say, your head unit, your main source or your amp to that speaker. If it's 6 feet, there's a certain size wire you need to go with for that length of reach. Or if you go 12 feet there, you may need to change that size wire because it's going to lose some of that resistance through the wire just from the length difference of it. And it may just, it's little things like that that are going to change that system from sounding super, super, super clear and giving you a great quality sound to something that you turn it up and it's going to start getting distorted, crackly. It's not going to sound the best.
Right.
The mids might not sound clear. The highs might not sound clear. The lows might sound terrible, things like that. And it all comes into effect. And that's why now JL Audio is creating literally self-tuning amps that if you match and follow every instruction to the T, their systems will self-tune all the way across the board. And you just put it together per the instructions. You can't screw it up, and you literally have an award-winning, competition-winning system.
And Bub, just so you know, Jack, my good friend up there in Ontario, Canada, says marine-style speakers in my bagger. Let's talk to that. You build a lot of baggers here at Bubba's Exotic Motorsports. You've built some stunning baggers here, which include audio in them. They do not use the typical plug-and-play Harley-Davidson trademark boom audio. You move it over to a different style audio. And the trick is, I'm sure Jack can attest to this as well up there in Canada, the trick is you cannot load one saddlebag unequal with the other because it affects the ability of the vehicle to ride properly. And it does, especially on the big touring bikes, kind of like what we have with the tour packs. And by a tour pack, ladies and gentlemen, what I mean is you've got two saddlebags that open, the lid's open, and you can put things in there. But behind the seat is a tour pack that's about, we call them tour packs, right, Bub? And they're about, 2 feet deep by about 3 feet wide, and they're hinged and they open in an upward direction. So it gives you a lot of carrying capacity. And the loading of those things, especially as it pertains to if you install audio equipment, Bub, you lose some of your loading capacity there. But the loading of those things has to be, with stereo equipment, has to be right. So as a designer, you have to take that into account.
Yeah, it's that's one of the things too that you just mentioned there that whenever you start talking about doing upgrades, I was thinking about this last night. When you start talking about doing upgrades in terms of anything automotive related, there's always going to be a give and a take, right? So, and what I mean by that is, for example, I'll start on yours and then I'll go into what made me think about it. So, if you're talking about upgrading audio, right, and you want to add an amp, maybe you want to go really big and you want to do a sub, on baggers, for example. it's hard to get a really good tone at very high volumes because you're working with a lot of different variables. You are working with road noise. You are working with natural wind at 60 and 70 miles an hour. You are working with other vehicles on the road, just the cars. Now, most important, you're working against the sound of the motor. You probably have an aftermarket exhaust system. You clearly like things loud if you're putting a loud audio system. So you're really taking and having to fight a lot of different variables.
I never broke it down that way, Bub. Thanks.
That's really hard to do in terms of creating an audio system that can outdo all of those items. And it has to do it in a way that it's clear. That's a struggle for most people to do. And the factory systems won't do it. You start turning them up, and then you start losing as you get louder and louder. Now you start losing certain pieces. You'll lose the mids, you'll lose the lows completely.
Absolutely right, Bub.
So that's a hard line to keep steady there, and to be able to make the audio side of like a custom bagger or a custom bike build outweigh all of those other pieces, and do it in a way that's quality, but also do it in a way that is fully functional. And what I mean by that is now you get to that give and take. So now you've designed an audio system, for example, utilizing all marine grade stuff. You've done, maybe you need to add an amp to it. Maybe you want to add a sub to it. That stuff all takes up space, and you're adding to, a factory style system. Maybe for a full out touring style bagger, the most it's going to have is 4 speakers factory, 2 in the fairing, 2 in the rear. You can up those now from, Harley's brand to, 6 with pods that come down by your knees. You can move those up even more to like saddlebags, lid speakers. So now you're up to 8. You can do, for example, your tour pack style you're talking about in the rear center. You could literally do an amp and a sub in there as well. So now you've started taking and adding this full system to it, but you're starting to take away extra room that you had. So that's that give. You're getting rid of all that stuff. You're having to give away all of this extra space that you had for comfort, whether it's the tour pack for the room for storage and throwing crap in there, to your knee room by your feet, to where somebody could set their hands naturally on the saddlebags in the rear if they're sitting there. You've now given all of that up to put those speakers in.
And I think Jack may have a point here. He's saying nope, cloth in the left bag, beer in the right bag, ice hole in the bottom.
That's funny.
I like that. But the question is, let's see, you have to balance the beer with the ice. No, you can't, because it can't be in separate bags, Bob. See the dichotomy of it? You got to balance these things out right.
I see it.
Especially on the tour pack that we were talking about, which sits high. You don't want to throw that center of gravity off, do you?
And it's funny too, because it's actually crazy, Jack. When I actually do and build my designs of like custom audio and baggers, what I do is in the bags, for example, I will do, and it's very hard to create solid bass, again, like at high levels. Yeah. When the bike is off, when you're sitting in a parking lot, it's super, super easy to have a very low volume and have a great tone come across. But what I'll do is I literally use one of the bags to do a flush mount marine grade amp. In the side of the bag, I'll actually flush it in there so it looks really, really clean. And then I dynamat the entire insides of the bags. And I literally use a ported hole in the front side of the bag so it faces towards the drivers. So you can literally hear that design. I do a ported hole in the side that I do a sub in. So I'll do an amp on one side and a sub on the other, close in weight distribution. And then literally you will have something that the flow of that sound produces forward, because the bag naturally is sealed when you close that lid on it, so you can push that airflow out of a ported hole.
It's super dynamic, and again, that's a fun in the sun vehicle. The Harley Davidsons, Bob.
Yeah.
Any motorcycle for that matter. I mean, that's like the that's like the Slingshots. That's a Chevrolet based platform made by Polaris, but it's tagged as a motorcycle, so it is fun in the sun. So if you have a Harley Davidson, for God's sakes, you can have a lot of fun with that too. How about exhaust on Harley Davidsons, Bob?
Endless.
Yeah,
just endless.
What is your favorite sounding exhaust on a Harley Davidson? And what is your favorite motor as well on a Harley Davidson, Jack? Bub, same question to you. Number one, what is your favorite exhaust, and you're going to base your exhaust on the motor, I think.
It all depends. It depends on the bike, depends on what you're doing. I feel like there's different styles for each one. I feel like baggers shouldn't be too loud. Most of the time with baggers, I mean, a good set of slip-ons will get you sounding really good and not be too obnoxious. The bagger, to me, is more of a bike you go out and you get on a longer cruise. So you wouldn't want it to be overly obnoxious. This is my personal opinion. But if you have like a 124 cube, super stretched and nasty sounding chopper, I would want to be running something super short on there, being really obnoxious and just spitting flames all over the place. So I feel like if you have two different designs, different bags or different bike styles, every style bike, requires something different. For example, like we've done a lot of baggers that we do 2-in-1 style systems, and those things, man, the 2-in-1
Yep.
pipes to me create such a great deep tone. I love that style, but you also know that I'm a very symmetrical style builder.
Yes, you are.
So you don't have that left and right tip out the
Yep.
rear. And when you do a lot of like custom baggers, when it's a full fiberglass rear end and it's super low to the ground, that symmetrical style with a slant cut that all holds the same angles, that looks really good from the back.
Funny, Jack's saying the same thing. 2-in-1. He's got the thunder header.
Yeah.
And again, that sound is real good, but I hate the look of it, man. I'm sorry, I do. I'm just being honest.
I mean, it's a different look for for different guys, and as long as if you can take the look, the sound of it is incredible. It's super
I know,
super
I hear it in my
deep.
head right now.
Yeah, it's a super deep tone, man, and it's got this own tone of itself. It literally changes the tone of like the Harley Davidson engine. It truly does. Under certain RPMs and especially under like a full throttle pull, it just sounds great.
And Bub, one of the things that I like, I'm pretty traditional. Well, let me ask the other question: is there a favorite Harley Davidson motor for you? Whether it's the knucklehead, the shovel head, is it the new Milwaukee 8 that's now back to a single cam that gives you that old knuckle look? I mean, our sound. I mean, what is there anything in particular? Or do you just like it all together, man?
Yeah, no, I just like it all together. I mean, it's Harley motors in general. It's you're not going to change that tone of what they naturally. You can hear a Harley motor in your head, so you're not going to lose that tone. Whether you go up or down and you go newer or older, you've always still got that baseline Harley tone there. To me, I love nothing more than a huge cammed Harley motor.
Yep.
I mean, just chopping around. And I'm not talking a guy that just takes a carbureted motor and turns idle down to 600.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people that do that. And you know what, Bub? I'm just not even into the whole carbureted thing anymore.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I like, the modern stuff, and it's hard to get modern motors to really thump around too hard. Even when you go with, today's 103s and 110s, and you have, the Harley cams put into them, just right off the floor, stage 1, stage 2, Screaming Eagle stuff. You really, even though it's injected, the injection smooths it out so much, even with very high lift and long duration cams, you almost lose some of that chop. In a way, there's nothing better to me sounding than like a big 100+ cube inch, whether it's S&S, whether it's Harley, carbureted huge cam setup. I mean, you can't beat that chop.
Jack says it does add power, the Thunder.
Oh, yeah, huge.
They do.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, Bub, you did build the original Goldilocks about, I want to say, when was that? 5-6 years ago, Goldilocks?
Oh, a long time, dude. No, that was a 2008.
Okay, 2008. Okay.
10 years ago, yeah.
And for you guys that don't remember, Goldilocks was the Heritage Softail that was rolled that was seen everywhere. It was rolled back to the 50s. I think it, Bub, still stands as probably, I still feel the way that bike rides. As smooth as that was a Fuelie, but the bike rode and sounded absolutely stunning, man. There was nothing you couldn't do with that motorcycle.
Yeah.
And imagine that down here cruising the beaches on Ocean Boulevard or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But that had, on that particular, you had lace wheels on that. I think they were 80-spoke lace wheels, weren't they?
Yeah. No, those were 50-spoke. I went 50-spoke 3/8, so they were super fat spokes on that thing going into white walls, man. It looked really vintage, but so clean.
Oh, and that golden paint job, the whole thing, the sound, Bub, of those Vance and Hines True Dual fish tips on that thing.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, that thing that had a pretty good sound to it. I mean, wide open throttle, a fuel cut on that thing shot a pretty nasty flame on it. It was pretty good.
It was really neat, man.
Yeah, that was a good tune on there.
That was a great tune, man. So that was a really fun bike, man. I can't think, Bub, of any bike that you've built that isn't fun, and any bike that you've built that wouldn't fit in the fun rides.
No, not at all.
You want to talk about your Kawasaki's?
Stop, dude. Listen, those things are just as good for cruising up and down the beach. I mean, top speed on those things is like 40 max, so it's really good.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah, really fun to cruise, man. These Kawasaki, Jack, you got to check these things out, bro. It's
Jack, are you familiar with these bikes?
They're called Z125 Pros, so they're like they're brand new 2017 to the model year in production terms, but they are the smallest, what you would consider a crotch rocket looking bike, like a sport. I don't know. You call it a sport bike, but this thing is no bigger than a little pocket bike that you would buy at Walmart. It can't be more than 200 pounds, 250 max. It's a Z125, so they've got a little bit of power to them. And I'm talking 9 horsepower, nothing crazy, but they are fully licensed and street legal, man. I mean, everything from the full wet clutch system to, the way the motor runs. It's injected.
Runs good, man.
They're super fun, man. Their enemy is the Honda Grom, and, those things came out a little bit earlier than the Z125s. But those, man, let me tell you, the cult following for that, we have like a group of those guys that just cruise around all over down here in Palm Beach. And you see 10, 15, 20, 25 of these guys all in a pack at the same time. And these things are no more than like 1.5 feet, 2 feet high off the ground, if that. And everybody stretches these things out. They're super cheap to work on, super cheap to upgrade to, and really fun, man. You're not going fast at all. I mean, you can full throttle these things in traffic and not worry about anything.
But they ride really cool. You stretched yours out and everything. It's so funny to watch you ride yours, man, because you're so big on that thing, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I did a 7-inch drop on it and a 7-inch stretch, and it's about as low and long as it can get for one of those things, and it's totally different because I've got a stock one, I have one that's fully modded, and it's the
so
driving
cool,
styles are totally different.
It's so cool, man. And,
yeah.
And, I've got a couple of enduros. By enduro, what do I mean, Bob?
So like a multi-on-road, off-road sport dirt bike style.
Dual sport, yes, sir. That's
sport.
correct. It's funny too because Mom saw one of her friends riding her bicycle last night through the neighborhood, and we stopped. We were on the bikes, and she was on hers, I was on mine, and we were just kind of riding around, catching some late afternoon sun, enjoying it. Speaking of some fun in the sun, and we stopped to talk to her friend, and her friend's like, "I'm so proud of you. You do such a great job. You never say no. Blah 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 blah. I love you being out there riding and da 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 da." But it is fun, man.
Yeah.
Even the enduros, the on-road, off-roads, and I got to tell you, Bob, I shared this with you before. I grew up on military installations. I'm the son of a very prominent former military officer, very well decorated. That's why I did service in the country myself as a police officer, and I loved. My service to this country. I'd do it again.
Yeah.
And there on base, Bub, there was what we call perimeter road and the housing developments and stuff like that. And, it was very much like where I live now. And as we kind of ride the neighborhood, and I'm on the 5 major golf courses of the PGA, and as I ride the neighborhood, I almost go back to the 70s, Bub, 75 and 76, when I would ride the base just as I ride today. Same thing, only more modern technology on the Honda 250 CRF. It's almost like perimeter road is ride or cut back to where your old house was back in there and everything. So there's a lot of connection. So being out in the late night sun and late afternoon sun, because we're light until 9 o'clock here.
Yeah, it's funny too because when we lived in that neighborhood, that was one thing I used to do was get out and I'd literally just ride around, just that whole outside drive. That was it. Perimeter that was like road. My 5-minute ride that I would do just to charge the battery up, and that was it.
I liken it to what we called perimeter road, which was the outside road on.
Yeah, but now you keep telling everybody like, hey, if you guys are coming over to my house, just take a left on perimeter road, and everyone's like, what?
I tell them to ride through the golf course, back by the bear trap, up over the holes and everything like that. There's all kinds of grassy areas you can ride in back there. I don't ever take those bikes off the road, Bub.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be in any of those places.
It's funny. We stopped at. We actually rode to a ice cream house last night.
I bet you did.
Yeah, I'm sure I did too. Hey, I worked out hard yesterday.
Come on, dude.
I don't normally work out on
14
Fridays.
minutes you were in the gym.
It was 12 and a half.
I literally just got off the cardio machine and you were walking out.
You just got off the phone and I was walking out. You were on the phone the whole time over in the corner like this, leaning on the wall going.
No, that's you.
You were talking to Layla.
Nope.
Yes, you were.
I was not.
Yes, you were. She was like, honey, are we going to the Rotten Tuna tonight in Stewart?
It's twisted tuna.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. Not rotten tuna. I would not go if it said rotten tuna.
Yeah, you said the food was terrible.
Terrible, dude.
Terrible, dude.
Everything was fried.
Was it?
Everything.
Ugh. I had ice cream.
Fried everything, dude.
And you were eating fried food.
Everything was fried.
Are you serious?
Fried carrots, fried calamari, fried chicken, fried broccoli.
Oh my!
You can have anything you want as long as it's fried.
Yeah. Sir, would you like the fried zucchini sticks?
Like, is there any other option? They're like, no. And I was like, just bring me something then. Yeah. It doesn't matter at that freaking point.
You couldn't just get a nice grilled chicken breast, man, with some broccoli or something?
No, so I wound up getting I got an order of buffalo wings, right? That's what I got, boneless wings.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So they were hot. They came out pretty hot.
Oh, really?
And So I asked this girl, I'm like, hey, listen, for some reason yesterday, I was just like, all I wanted was spice. Like, I just wanted heat,
I have those
man.
days. You just want hot food, man.
That's it.
I know those
so
days.
I cranked it super hard in the gym. I was in the gym for like 3 hours. I told
You
this
were?
girl, I was like, listen, I just wanted some French fries and
Bub,
some wings. Like, that's
wait,
all
hold
I
on. You
wanted.
can't eat healthy, burn off all these carbs, be as tight and as fit in shape as you are, and then just go. We may eat 1,500 calories a day, and then you can't go to dinner and go, can I have 4,000 calories?
Listen,
please?
it had to be more than 4,000 calories. But let me tell you, this girl did not play around on the hot sauce she put on
No.
these things. First bite, dude, it took me out.
Nah.
For sure.
No,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we can eat some hot food,
No,
man.
I was tapping out on these, dude.
Nuh-uh.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even finish them, and I have no problem crushing wings. There's no chance. I mean, I stopped maybe at like 4 into this thing, and that was it.
Oh,
I was
man.
dripping sweat. There was
Were you
snot
really?
running down my face. Yeah, I looked like a freaking retard sitting at the table.
Oh, I'm
It was
sorry.
terrible, dude. I'm crying, everything. It was a mess.
So-
That was an absolute mess. There was sauce all over the front of me. It was bad.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
It was really bad, really hot, too.
Did you eat them or did you throw them down?
No,
on
I'm
the
telling you, I had
Done
like
with
4
this.
out of 10. That was it.
So I got a good story for you, bub.
All right, go.
Do you remember? Now let's go back to Virginia. Okay. Do you remember? And I think this person may be watching. I'm not sure. But do you remember back years and years ago when we met Trisha and her husband, Trisha Stahlgren and her husband? She had her sister Michelle.
Yeah, it'd be like a
kids
long
in
time ago, man.
Long time ago,
Yeah.
man. 25 years ago.
At
right?
least.
25,
At least,
25,
dude.
30 years ago, man. And it's just a story of, ladies and gentlemen, about how you retain friendships, man, and you move on about it. Well, of course, her children grew up, and her husband did her thing, and she did her thing, and all of those great things. And it was, they've always been fans of ours and just good family friends as well. She worked with Uncle Jake and all of that. Just good people, man.
Yeah.
Solid people. Well, guess what, man?
What?
They sold their house in Virginia and they moved to Florida.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
That's very, very cool. So I think they're over there in the Tampa area, Bub, on the west coast of Florida. So welcome to Florida. Trisha Stahlgren and family, man.
That's funny, too, because a lot of people, for some reason, from the north moved down to South Florida.
That's right, man. Isn't
Yeah,
that cool,
a
man?
lot.
I want to sincerely welcome them to Florida with open arms. I know there was some sadness with them getting out of Virginia. I couldn't get out of Virginia fast enough. Could you, Bub?
Yeah. Yeah, no chance. Not going back there.
Never going.
No.
How do you spell Virginia?
No idea.
No idea. So welcome to sunny South Florida, man. You guys are going to be well loved here. I think one of her children may even be in this area somewhere, Bob. I don't know the whole story, but
Yeah, who knows?
I think it's pretty cool, man.
That's pretty
All
cool.
roads lead down to the warmth of beautiful, sunny Florida, isn't it, man?
I guess so.
So we welcome you guys to Florida, and we're glad you're part of the Floridian family. It's a wonderful, wonderful time.
Yeah.
So, Bob, I just thought you'd enjoy that story, man. You go back that long.
I think I'm going to go and take the top off the SEMA Jeep and go cruising around.
Are you?
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a heavy top
I
to get
noticed
off.
at the SEMA Mustang, man, 2 SEMA cars in the Bubba's Exotic Motorsports, Bubba's palatial driveway, Bub. I noticed that the SEMA Mustang is sitting in your garage, man. You don't know how. When I took Diesel home, ladies and gentlemen, I need to be honest with you. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the ladies' man SAG card allows him to work with us. So Bub takes off and leaves me sitting here while he goes to the gym. Right?
This is true.
And
I leave at 3 o'clock every day, period. There's no change.
That's bullshit.
No, that's 100% true.
So anyways, Bub takes off and leaves me yesterday, right? Takes off and leaves me yesterday. I've got the ladies' man because I pick him up Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at Bub's house.
What do you do with him?
I put him in the car. I go, D.
Yeah, and you give him apple fritter all the way in.
No.
He gets out of the car and
smells
there's cinnamon
Wrong.
apple all around his lips, dude.
No. Hold
Come on.
That would be on Wednesdays when I stop and get him an apple muffin, a cinnamon apple muffin.
Yeah.
Yes. Fridays I get him because on Thursday nights he tweets me and says, "Hey Papa, don't forget my apple fritter." And
He
it's
doesn't
always right
tweet.
around. It's right. No, he doesn't tweet. He texts.
He doesn't text.
Yes, he does. He's got them big paws and they go like this.
Okay.
Right. Sometimes
Keep going.
Sometimes
Let's move on.
he has spelling errors. Sometimes.
Okay.
So, anyways, he talks to me and he lets me know, and so I do everything I'm supposed to do, right? And I pick up his apple fritter. So yesterday, Bub, I took him home. Stooters was over at my house with your bride Layla and Robin, and Jack and Pearl greeted me there. They're sitting on your counter, and they've got like 52 paws on them and everything like that. One's got a pink bow on, and one's got a bell on, and they're sitting on your on your cabinet, like on your kitchen island, meowing at me.
Yeah.
So I put all your stuff inside, and I'm there, and I'm like, oh, there's the SEMA Mustang. I'm damn sure.
Dude, that thing is just a monster.
I was ready to drive it, man.
You know, I don't know what I'm doing with that thing, man. I don't know if I want to just. So listen, it's the crazy part about that ride. If you haven't seen it, just Instagram.com/Bubba's Exotic Motorsports. So this car was built and designed for Precision Turbo.
Yep.
This was for SEMA 17.
Yep.
Last November. So we did it. They wanted us to do maximum horsepower on a stock block EcoBoost, which is a 4-cylinder from Ford. The motor's a little monster, man. They're right off the showroom floor, pulling 330 horsepower. Pretty respectable right out of the gate.
You were supposed to hit 500 horsepower. And good morning to Sean Collins as well. Good morning.
Yeah, it's they're pretty good. From a fuel economy standpoint, the cars are cheap. Out the door they're like 27 to 32, depending on the packages you buy. I think I paid this one. This one was like 32 something, fully loaded. I mean, I'm talking leather, nav, everything you could possibly get from Ford was in that car out the door for like 32. So super affordable, really great to get. Fuel economy north of 24 miles a gallon, man, just cruising. So that's super insane. But we built this car.
All over this car too. Hold on, Jack. I got something for you too.
Yeah. So we built this car. We did it. We did all the upgrades to it. Every possible part you could get, either designed, built, bought, purchased, custom made for the SEMA Mustang is on that car. And we pushed that car up at 27 pounds of boost. It's running on pump gas at 597 horse. So it's a pretty solid little monster. But you know what, man? It's just. I've changed the exhaust on it 4 times to try to get that tone. And no matter what you do, you just don't get the tone out of a 4-cylinder that you want out of a nasty chopping around V8, especially when it comes to like a muscle car status. Yeah. So the Mustangs, the Camaros, the Corvettes, you want that roar, right? You don't want it to be this little dinky, humbly thing that's just kind of sitting there. Now, it has a great tone. Being that it's a 4-cylinder, but when you look at this car and you're like, holy crap, dude, like the back rims on it they're 20 by 16s.
Fat, man.
So this thing is rocking a set of 345s on the back. It is the widest rim, the widest tire you can possibly get on the back of this ride. So it's got the looks and it's got the power, but it doesn't have the tone. So now I'm like, what do I do with this car? I've put all this work into it. There's over 80 grand into this car. Do I leave it as it is and keep it? Because it's an award winner, it's been a SEMA, it's got this huge mark in the industry.
Yep, 2.5
so do I
million
leave
social media views. Yep.
Or do I say screw it and just pull everything from the trans forward out of the car and do like an Eliminator Coyote motor where it's supercharged? I can run the sample like close to 1,200 horsepower, drop it in, I'll put a set of long tubes on it and hook it up to the exhaust I've already got there. It would have that nasty chopping raw V8 horsepower sound. I could do that for probably 20 grand. Or do I just cut the loss, sell the car, and then go do another Mustang that's already got the V8 in it? Because I started weighing it out. You've got to do, the motor swap isn't hard. It's modern performance. So motor swap wouldn't be hard. Doing the tune wouldn't be hard. But you start, and I've already got all the Steeda suspension, everything from Steeda on that car. So drivetrain wise is done, suspension's done, axles are done. Everything would handle the swap easily. But is it worth the time and the investment of getting the motor, building the motor, getting the supercharger, building the supercharger to the motor, getting the pulley kit, getting that stuff plumbed to it, changing the cooling system on it to the factory Ford stuff, changing out the entire wiring harness, changing the full ECU, doing all that stuff? Is it really worth it, or just sell the car and move on and do another project?
And that's a good question. Now, Jack says he's got to believe Bub. Look at the arms, Bub, or Jack. Those arms. Show him your bicep, Bub. Your arms
okay. You
are
can
what?
see them.
21 inches, I think.
I don't know. I try not to measure or look at a scale. I just work out.
He's huge, Jack. To see him in person, at 5'9" with 21-inch arms, I have good muscle definition. Bub's just an animal, man. Jack says I'm looking to buy a Canyon pickup, undecided with the 4-cylinder 200 horse or the V6. Not so sure for the 4-cylinder with the last in the long run. I think that 2.3 or that 2.4, the Ecotech, Bob, that's pretty bulletproof though. They're using them in the Cadillacs and everything, right?
That's actually a good one too that Jack brought that up, because it's the new Canyons, right? And we've done a lot. We've done everything from the 4s up to the loaded V6s. I think those are what the Z71 packages that they're doing on those things is what they consider them. Yeah, the ZL1's let's see, that's the Corvettes. The ZR1 is the Camaro. So I'm sorry, I got those backwards.
The ZL1, isn't it?
Yeah, the ZL1's a Camaro. The ZR is a Corvette. So I think those are Z71 packages in those Canyons. We've done a few of those. I'm sorry, not those. The Colorados. That's what I'm thinking.
Colorado, yeah.
And the GM motors, man, while they can produce some power to them, intake, exhaust tunes, just doing your basic bolt-ons. To me, there wasn't that much of a noticeable difference between the 4-cylinder and the 6-cylinder in terms of like the power band, what they do, that torque field. They're just both such mild motors that I feel like either way you go, they're both good, but they're not going to be monsters. They're not going to blow you away. They're just going to give you exactly what you need them to do.
But to your point, Bub, you mentioned that you say that they were mild motors. I think that's a very politically correct way to say it. American 4-cylinders suck. I'm sorry, dude. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Listen, they're definitely
not
do.
Smooth. Now, that's not taking anything away from the American cars. I love American cars. I'm a Chevrolet guy like you are, okay? I'm a GM guy, okay? I like Fords. I like them all. For example, when you start for a 4-cylinder Volkswagen, Golf think the Golf or something like that beside or you start a 4-cylinder Honda. Toyota, you get a very rubbery feeling to them.
It's a big part of that is the fact that the Asians and also the Europeans, those markets, they've always really leaned on the 4-cylinders
because of fuel economy.
Yeah, and for the longest time now, I'd say for the past really like 10 years, they've really mastered it in the fact that they've been able to pretty much run everything on very small motors, but then throw turbos on them and upgrade all of the internals, mass production, to where they can build pretty strong power out of a 4-cylinder, 300, 400, 450 horsepower, out of 4-cylinder turbocharged boosted motors. And the Americans still haven't caught on to that for some reason. The EcoBoost platform for Ford was the hit. And that's when they did the 4-cylinder turbocharge. That's, really when Americans decided, hey, let's do a 4-cylinder for economy, but let's go ahead and put a turbo on it to try to boost the power, because without a turbo on a 4-cylinder, it's a dog. I mean, that's it.
So what about, Bub, then? Do you think that the American auto manufacturers, especially Ford, with their EcoBoost, I think they went to a 3.56 twin turbo platform.
Yeah.
Are they starting to catch on to that?
Yeah, the Ford EcoBoost, all of them. I mean, look at all of like the new F-150s now, man. They're all now 90% of the F-150 market is V6 3.5 liter twin turbo EcoBoost motors, and they're producing over 400 plus horsepower stock. They're twin turbo. The fuel economy is incredible. They're super, super smooth, really torquey motors. But again, they're not that V8 5.4 motor. They're not the 4.6, the 5.0s. You lose that V8 power and that torque that you want. But there's a huge market for it. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that have, companies that do work trucks, and they need fuel economy, but they also don't, they want something that works really hard. And that's what that EcoBoost platform is giving them.
It does, Bub. Jack says, yeah, see, his son's in the gym 7 days a week too. Big boy like you are, Bub. And that's what it takes. We'll take a day. I'm taking a day away today. My size is my goal has never been bulk. I like being thin. I like very shredded abs. I like very defined muscles. You've always been big, although you've got abs and everything as well. It's just a different lifting style, and of course the other thing too, and I'm not hiding behind this, not at all. I'm very proud of my age. I'm 58 years old. I think I am in phenomenal shape, better than 99% of American men out there. And I work out very hard to gain that. So you're only as good. It's like the gas you put in your car. You're only as good as how you treat yourself, right?
No, you definitely are, man. And that's that's key. It's people talk about that stuff all the time with weightlifting and dieting and things like that. And it's all true, man. It's it's literally as similar as just throwing something as basic out. Like, what kind of gas are you putting in your car?
Yep. Yep.
If you're putting in the wrong stuff, you're putting in old junk, you're putting in some doo-doo stuff, that's how it's going to perform. And,
exactly right,
that's it's just as simple as an analogy as that. It's, if the fuel you're running in your own car is poop, what are you doing with the stuff you're putting in your body? It's the exact same thing. Like, there's no difference.
It is. And the problem is you get in such a mindset. You think the Lloyd mind is not wired. It's wired to go and always say yes, never say no. Mm-hmm. And it's just genetically the way we are wired. It's a very successful way to go. Because even in the worst of times, You may obsess over something, but you'll find a way to get through it. You'll punch through it. And it's the same thing with, being my age or your size. You're not afraid to go, go, go. If your body hurts, you just push, you push, you push. You never quit, bub.
Yeah.
Never quit, man.
Yeah.
That's how you get to the top, isn't it, bub?
Mm-hmm.
So, Sonny, so a lot of good things, Bub. I see some notes here. This has been a great series, man. The fun and the sun side. I really wanted to talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about some of the upcoming exotic car events, Bub.
So we've got two, man. It's most of these are all going to be for you guys out there listening or watching. The best place to get all of these, the contact info on them, is through Instagram or Facebook, things like that, social media. It's where everything happens super, super fast, and it's live on the spot. So if you're interested in some of the up-and-coming supercar events that are down here in South Florida, we have the next one coming up is Supercar Saturdays of Florida. That is at Lamborghini of Broward. That's going to be this coming Saturday.
Think we'll be on time? Not a chance.
Yeah, not a chance, man. We'll try, but we'll see what we get done. This time I'm actually not taking the SEMA Jeep, so we will be able to cruise 140 the whole time. The SEMA Jeep was keeping me down at 90, but let me tell you, that's pretty solid moving on a set of 40s at 90 miles an hour. So I was rolling pretty good. That's one event coming up. The next one, the major one, is Exotics on Las Olas. That's down in Fort Lauderdale. That is November 11th. Incredible event. This is going to be the first one, the annual one, and this is going to be insane, man. Everything from, I don't even know, I'm going to put a number out there, $50,000 cars, probably upwards of $65 million cars. So pretty insane. The rides that are going to be there are stupid. We know a lot of them that are going. We've done a lot of them that are going, so it's going to be a blast. If anybody is looking for a vacation spot, that would be the weekend to do it, down in Fort Lauderdale, and come out and just hang out in the fun, in the sun.
Now, Bub, do you want to talk about, I'm trying to redevelop the show a little bit. Do you want to talk about who will be there with us? We're going to be under, Monster Energy is going to bring out 2 tents. We'll be under the tents. We're discussing whether or not we'll do a live show, and we're going to be having some of our celebrity friends there as well. Do you want to discuss that now or wait until later?
No, we'll let that out here in a couple weeks.
Okay,
get a little closer to it.
So please, I'm trying to get to the BEM dirt track driver Mark Hoffman's race ready report for this show. Problem is, Facebook is running so slow, I cannot pull it up. So I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just keep moving on. Okay, so we have those, Bub, and let's talk about Bub. I see some of your other notes here.
I got 2, man. I got so here's one that we had sent in, right? I had somebody ask me what's trending in the auto industry right now, and that's a really good question. Okay. Because with the auto industry, it always goes up and down. Right now, in terms of, and again, this is I would say this is universal all the way across the auto industry, but very much taking off right now, really holding a foot mark right now in the industry, which is a lot of people are really hot with wraps right now. Some of the hottest things that are going on are, vehicle wraps. Some people are doing matte finishes. Some people are doing the brushed aluminum. Some people are doing iridescent stuff, chrome-based stuff. A lot of people are really, really heavy on wraps right now. What's really, really holding strong is, stances, getting cars down on air ride, laying them down on the ground, tucking them tight, and doing wide bodies. Those are some of the heaviest hitting pieces right now in the automotive industry, and it's insane, man. Some of these guys, they're literally taking $50, $100, $200, $300, $600,000 cars, bringing them off the floor and just cutting the bodies up and going wide body on them right away. And that's really how strong of a mark the wide body and the wrap style stuff is taking over. That is, it's literally people are doing it to cars that are very, very high end.
Bub, flame spitting exhaust. Yes, we were talking.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is exhaust systems, man. Today's cars, the way that they're coming either boosted or the way that these cars are tuned, and you can have them tuned. It's what's crazy right now is these cars are just literally high flow exhaust systems, air fuel delivery systems, and custom tunes. These things are literally turning into flame spitting machines.
They really are, Bob.
They are.
Bob, let's talk a little bit about promo codes. I hear the studio up in New York prompting us with a 60-second countdown. I don't care. Promo codes, Bob, marketing.
So yeah, man. So this is something that we're going to start doing. We have decided that we are actually going to start opening arms of BEM out to the full fan base and friends and followers, to where everybody can grow and have fun with BEM as well. And what we mean by that is we're actually going to start doing personal promo codes for people, anyone out there that wants to support and rep products from BEM, where what that's going to do is you'll get an online generated promo code. Any product that you may want to, push off to a friend, whether it's referral based, whatever it may be, whether it's sharing it on your own pages, Facebook or Instagram wise, social media wise, whatever the heck it may be, you'll get a specific promo code. And if somebody does go online and purchase something from the BEM website, bubbasexoticmotorsports.com, and use your promo code, you will actually get 5% of whatever their purchase total is sent to you in cash.
Every Friday we cut.
How good is that?
That's pretty good, man.
And we've had a few of those here locally. We've got about 4 people locally that do that.
And they love driving that business, man, because it's a paycheck.
It's just a random paycheck that just shows up in your mailbox on a Friday afternoon. And we've got 4 people select here that I'm telling you, they're pulling pretty good numbers.
That's kind of where the idea came from, actually, as they started driving this. And I cut payrolls every Friday at 2, so yours goes in the mail or you come in and pick it up.
Just that simple.
Pretty simple, man. If you want your promo code, all you have to do is reach out to us right here on Facebook. Direct message us, and I'll shoot it right up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the top. Anything else you wanted to go over for this week's episode, Bubba, of Doing It Bubba Style?
That's it, man. Just, you guys stay tuned for what's coming from BEM, bubbasexoticmotorsports.com. You check everything out there, everything from new product releases, hottest stuff, social media, all on the front page, YouTube channel. It is all out there. Check it out. If you don't follow us already, follow us. Anything that we do on the spot here live will literally hit you guys on your phones no matter what.
Yeah.
Everything that we do social media wise is from our personal phones, so it is coming from true people.
Bub, good morning to Vasil Buniak out there. I'd love to know what country he's coming in from. One more question from Jack Bub. Do you believe the combustion engine will be on its way out between the next 5 and 10 years, as they say, Bub?
That's a tricky one to answer. There's so much of this the predictive stuff that goes on. For Christ's sakes, we were all supposed to be dead in 2000, Y2K.
Remember that, don't
you? It's always hard, man. People just kind of throw stuff out there, and they see what the bait gets and what everybody jumps on board.
Bub, yeah.
No. Personally, I'm gonna throw out there, no. I don't think it's gonna be gone. Are we going to be changing a lot of things? For sure. Technology is not going to stop, and it's changing daily. It's changing hourly. It's modifying. It's moving forward. But do I think that the internal combustion engine will be done? Probably not.
I don't.
I'm gonna give it a while. Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, are electrical motors going to run generators in hospitals, Bub, when they have a massive hurricane power outage?
No, it's. Of course, it's. And trust me, I'm all for things that are. Naturally power fed, whether it's solar powered, and you're recharging batteries off of that. I feel like there would be a great way to incorporate that kind of stuff, and somehow, mold things better into, vehicles as we progress forward. I'm not saying go full on electric and, be dumb stuff and crap like that. I'm not even going to get into it too deep. But I feel like, I'm okay for technology progressing forward in a way where it's beneficial for everybody.
Absolutely, man. Let me just put it to you this way, Bub. Cigarette smoking is bad for you.
Hey, I was ready to shove a cigarette down somebody's throat last night.
Were you really? What happened, man?
I'm telling you, dude. I'm sitting there struggling as it was with those 4 wings I could barely eat because of how hot they were.
Yeah.
Some freaking dick clown behind me was literally just sitting there holding a cigarette at their side, literally the seat behind me, just literally letting it sit there, just run and run and run. And I'm like, you know what? The only reason I naturally did not say anything was, 1, out of respect for my company that was there because I was going to really lose my junk, and 2, the simple fact that we were sitting outside, and it's like that line where you can't really cross it, but you can.
Hell, you can't. Hey, bro,
I feel like that's just common courtesy.
Put that thing out.
Yeah, to me, that's just common courtesy. Like, listen, people right next to you are sitting eating. They probably don't want their Newport lights going down their throat.
That's exactly right. If I wanted to smoke, I'd have bought a pack of cigarettes and come in here. So I don't see that.
That's just me.
Unlike cigarettes, man, I don't see. I really don't see the internal combustion engine going anywhere, Bob.
Nah.
I really don't. I want to hear what everybody thinks about changing the format to maybe just going to the Saturday podcast, Bob. So everybody comment right into us here. Direct messages, Jack. I want to know your opinion. I want to know your thoughts. We're trying to think about everybody's time as well. As popular as that show is, we're trying to get some Canada. In Canada, cigarettes are banned. Restaurant sparks everywhere, so you don't have the smoke in your face no more. I agree, and it's you're not supposed to smoke here in restaurants. I know Bub was referring to outside, and believe me, I'm not one. The government doesn't need to.
No,
be in
listen.
Hey,
listen. If you smoke, you smoke. It's all good. But I feel like there's a time and a place, especially when you're at restaurants. I feel like there's just a common courtesy. If if people are sitting there eating, I wouldn't be the one to light up a cigarette and just have it sitting there burning next to somebody that's got a burger in their hand.
Yeah, you've never.
That wouldn't be me.
You've never been a smoker, anyways, Bub.
No.
So it really doesn't matter. Even outdoors, abandoned a lot of the places and a lot of the parks.
That's good.
I understand that. Yeah, you can't throw a cigarette in the park and burn the place down, chase the animals.
Yeah, no, it's good. We've had a lot of, especially here, man, with the heat and landscaping here. We have a lot of the brush fires that start up, and there are actually people that go out and investigate them, because there are actually guys out there that literally will start them by just throwing one cigarette in there. With how naturally hot everything is, that one cigarette is what it could literally take to do 10 acres of a fire.
God, I remember when people used to smoke, and I was one of them, Bub. Many years ago, I just throw my cigarette butt out the window and not think about it. How selfish was it?
It is, man. Think about one car that may have a slight fuel leak from a hose clamp. That could be it for that family, right there, from one cigarette butt. Done.
Right on, man.
I mean, it could be, honestly, and that's not overthinking it. That's just the truth. You don't know what car out there is just barely milking by from whoever's driving
Somebody
it,
less
because it's got a hose clamp that's leaking a little bit of fuel, and one drip on the ground is just that one thing that needs to ignite on the right heat and the right temperature. Is done.
How about that, man?
Simple.
Great show, man. Really, really, really.
All right, I gotta go.
Thank you, Jack,
somewhere.
for all the interaction, man. I appreciate it. Jack, I love you, man. We love you here at Bubba's Exotic Motorsports. I'm very, very interested to hear your feedback about us reformatting the show. Maybe going to just one show a week here in the broadcast studio, Jack. It's asking a lot for us, all of our people, to join us on Mondays and Fridays. But we also are talking to a professional production company that may want to revamp that with Bubba and I. So there's a lot of, and I want to hear how this is going to impact people or what their thoughts are. And so Bubba and I can sit down and discuss it together as a father and son team that brings the entertainment side of it to you. Thank you, Jack. Again, a big, big, warm welcome to the Stogglers here in Florida, over in the Tampa area. We're glad you got out of Virginia, man. It's cold, gray, and dark up there, man. It gives me chills to think about it, Bub.
Yeah.
Whoosh. You just want to get in the BMG and sit by the sun, don't you?
Yeah, I got to go.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that does it for this episode of Doing It Bubba Style, the #1 rated internationally syndicated motorsports podcast, brought to you by Bub and Tom, as heard on Spreaker, Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, everywhere, Bub.
Yep.
It's all out there, isn't it, man?
Yep.
How about that, Bub? We want everybody to have a super, super weekend, and make sure that whatever you do, you reach out to touch somebody's life in a really positive manner, ladies and gentlemen. Let's open the door for somebody whose hands are full. Maybe a pregnant mom, maybe an elderly person on a walker, or just somebody who's a handful of birthday gifts because they were fortunate enough to have the money to buy the gifts for their kids or their loved one. Let's feed somebody who's hungry, standing on the corner with a sign that says, "We'll work for food." Right there, 7-Eleven, Citgo, something like that. A power bar and a protein drink that's cheaper, ladies and gentlemen, than your designer cup of coffee. Think about that, and you'll put a meal in somebody's stomach. And if somebody's got holes in the bottom of their shoes, guys, pull over. You got a pair of sweaty old sneakers in the back of that trunk, man. Give it to them. Shoe them up, man. Keep them dry. Good karma comes back around. Bub, that's it for this episode of Doing It Bubba Style. Until next time, Bub.
Just keep on doing it Bubba style.
Let's keep on doing it Bubba Style, ladies and gentlemen.